Okay, so this is my week 2 video, and I thought I would start off by defining the two terms that I found most important from this week's material. So the first one, disaster, and in my own words, I wrote, disasters are a catastrophic event that severely affects society and results in drastic economic damages and a high number of deaths and injuries. So that's my own definition. And stakeholders, I wrote a person who is affected or has a personal connection to a business's or company's actions or a decision. So that's what I got from from the terms from this week. And the only thing that really didn't make much sense to me this week was one of the quotes from the PowerPoint. It said, disasters are low probability, high consequence events. I don't know, I guess it's the way it's worded, it just doesn't really sound right to me. Like, I guess low probability just doesn't make much sense to me. Maybe it will as we go on. It just sounded a little off to me. So that was my only muddiest point. And okay, class discussions. Okay, if I had to lead an actual face-to-face class discussion, one of the things I thought of asking was, do you agree with the PowerPoint when it said that humans, not nature, are the causes of significant disaster losses? Or do we think it's just the nature itself, such as hurricanes, tsunamis, that sort of thing? So that's one of the questions. I thought that was actually really interesting to me, that the PowerPoint said that humans, not nature, are the causes of disaster losses, because I honestly agree with that. It's, one of those things. And then my second question I wrote down is, who do you think is more vulnerable than others? Opinionated questions. And because that came up a lot in the PowerPoint, like who is more vulnerable to losing a lot more than the average person in the case of a disaster or something like that. Like the poor, disabled, forget the PowerPoint right now because it's not in front of me. Let me bring it up because I have it right here. But yeah, it said, who is more greatly affected by a disaster? Well, anyway, it said the poor, disabled, elderly. That was the other one. I'm sorry. That's what else I wanted to say. I've completely blanked out there. My answer to that question would actually be the homeless, or the poor homeless, would be more vulnerable because they already don't have much. And something I thought of when I read over that part, who is more vulnerable, I took Intro to Sociology, I guess not that long ago. I still have the books for it. And one of the books I had to read for Intro to Sociology was Elliot Levo's Tell Them Who I Am, which covers the lives of homeless women. So that question made me think of that book, because these women are already at a disadvantage, because, sexism is still a huge thing, even though it shouldn't be. And the fact that they're homeless does not help their cases at all. I actually wrote that in my essay for that class. But yeah, that question made me think of that book. And then the last question I wrote down is, which of the 4 theories of disasters do you think applies most to the disasters that we see today? Such as, the shootings, problems with gun control, gun violence, those sort of things. Because hurricanes, of course, would be an act of nature. And I answered this question myself. I said, I think the 4th theory of disaster, avoidable human constructions, relates most to what we see today. And the definition of that was, disasters are brought upon humans by other humans, you know, man-made sort of disasters, you know, that humans brought upon each other. So, in terms, muddiest points, there wasn't a lot of muddy points. I just found a lot of the material to be very interesting, especially the 9/11 article. That was very interesting. But, yeah, most of the stuff did make sense. So none of them are necessarily a muddy point in my class discussion. So I guess that's everything for this week. Thank you, guys.